Welcome to the very first episode of UpTalk by the Confident Communicator. UpTalk is a podcast about people's lives, what inspires them, what drives them, what makes them get to where they want to be, while at the same time addressing what difficulties they've faced, what questions they've had about themselves, what compromises they've made. We want to know people's stories. We want to understand what it is that makes people do what they do. It's hosted by the Confident Communicator, which is an organization that's been providing workshops for children and women for the past 6 years. And now they're getting online because of the pandemic. And it's a brilliant initiative to start spreading the word about them as well. Today, I have on with me the founders of the Confident Communicator, Sima and Deepma, who are going to tell me a little bit about their process. So I'm here with the founders of the Confident Communicator, Deepma and Sima, and they're going to tell me a little bit about what made them want to start the company. So I want to know why you decided that this was the company you wanted to start. What made you think that this is what we need to do? This is what the world needs.
So one of the reasons I think for me personally, that stands out is that I trained adults in the art of communication, in soft skills, assertiveness, communicating across cultures, dealing with difficult people, things like that. And as I as I did corporate training, one thing kept coming up for me, and that was that in the on the matrix of the knowledge, skills, and attitude or behavior, I was able to get to the knowledge, I was able to get to the skills, I was able to give them a skill set, but somehow or the other, with adults, it's very, very hard to change attitude or behavior. And so that's the reason why both Sima and I felt that we should go younger. And I love how she refers to it, so I'll let her say that. But that we should go younger, and we should start off younger in setting the confidence of children in their own ability to articulate and communicate well.
So I think what happened with me is that I worked for an NGO for about 2.5 years, where I was teaching these vocational college. So kids between the ages of 16 to 24 from very underprivileged backgrounds. And what I noticed is that the importance of a very, very good teacher can make a big difference in the life of a child. And that's the concept of empowerment. And when Deepma and I started talking about this company, she was talking about how frustrated she was with the training of the adults, and how difficult it is to change mindset and behavior in like 2-3 hours of training. So I said, let's do a backward integration, let's go and start young. And we jumped into the whole training and teaching kids who were much younger and were ready. They were like sponges, they were ready to absorb. And I think that's where the concept of this program began. And of course, it's gone in so many different directions now.
Yeah. So we started the Confident Communicator specifically for just communication skills and presentation skills for teenagers. And we have moved in both directions, where we've gone down to the little ones, the 5 to 7 year olds. We've gone up to the 18 to 20-year-olds who are just entering colleges and having to do group discussions and things like that. And then we've gone even one step further, where we train young adults in interviewing skills and getting into their first jobs and communicating well in those jobs. So it's been an exciting journey. Yeah.
I think the second point that I wanted to add to that is that when we moved back to India from our stint in the United States, what we realized is that most of the Indian kids are academically very, very sharp. I mean, they do really well. Academics is a huge emphasis in India. But what we found lacking was that power of articulation. People were not confident. They were not as articulate as they should have been. I'm talking about 7-8 years ago. So we thought that this is an area that we should really explore, given that our own kids went to international schools. And we found that there was a need for that market. And that's how we started the company.
Yeah. I think like when I was growing up in school as well, like I missed out on a lot of opportunities for public speaking and different events in school as well, because a lot of focus is given to students who already have the skills rather than helping them develop it. So especially in Venture, like the school I was in, primary school, they would look at children who are already good at sports and give them opportunities, or children who are good at singing and give them opportunities, rather than allowing people to sort of take
Developing.
risks and blossom out. Everyone was scared
Yes.
of making a fool of themselves, and no one wanted to embarrass themselves if they were like really bad at something. And a lot of people just didn't take risks because of that. So what are some of
Very
the
true.
what are the programs that you sort of use to empower children, especially younger children who feel actually understand that other people can judge them now, and actually realize that other people have perceptions of them the way they do of others?
There's a very subtle observation that we made over the period of time, that most kids are not really allowed to express themselves or give opinions. And it's not that they are subdued or anything, but they are not. Nobody says, "Hey, what do you think of this?" Dad and I are talking about, buying a new piece of furniture. What is your opinion? Do you think it'll fit well here? I mean, how many of the parents have this kind of a conversation with their children? We do have connections with our kids, we care deeply about them, but we do not allow them to express themselves or give us an opinion about anything that they feel. So what happened is that we initially started the program for 10 to 15 year olds. We call it the leadership communication program, which is a 25-week program solely based on public speaking, confidence building, leadership and team building. And recently we got into another program. We thought, let's go a little bit younger, and we went into a program called the Learning Continues, or TLC, which is for kids between the ages of 5 to 7.5. And that is focused mainly on reading skills, because we find that reading is an art that is kind of dying. Not a lot of children. I mean, I remember, raising my kids, reading them to bed every day, and that's how they became really good writers. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that is not happening with the busy lifestyle that we all have. The parents are too tired, or I don't know what the reasons are, but the reading skills have gone down. And I think that's
Yes.
something we need to incorporate. So we started younger. And then, of course, we have also done a lot of other programs. Like we do programs for kids who are about to enter college, the issues that they deal with, whether it is preparation for college, essay writing, whether it is interviewing skills, group discussions. So we do a lot of those training programs as well. And then the young people who are just about to, the first time jobbers about to enter the job market, we help them build their confidence in presenting themselves. How do you give an elevator pitch? How do you introduce yourself? How do you prepare your resume? Those kind of things. And all the way up to the senior to mid-level to senior managers, where we train them in communication skills. So we've kind of covered quite a bit. Apart from
Yeah.
that, we have specialized in empowering women. We like to focus a lot on women. So we've done some vision boarding activities around women. And we are very proud to say we have come up with two very, very amazing merchandise items, which I'll
Products.
let Deepma talk about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Deepma, you want to take that?
Before I talk about the products, I think I wanted just adding a little bit to what Seema said. I think it's cultural, don't you think, Seema? Where
Yeah.
we as parents also, when we're raising our children, we put these small little ideas into their subconscious without even realizing it. And these are the ideas that we ourselves grew up with. So, like Deeksha, how you said, we make them afraid of taking risks, right?
Hmm.
And so automatically they grow up saying, oh my God, if I don't know the answer 100%, I better not open my mouth because I'm not a risk taker, right? So they're not very communicative. They're not very direct communicators because of that. So these are the small cultural nuances, I think, that we put into our kids, and we say, this is the way little children should be seen, not heard. I mean, all of us have said that without even thinking what is the impact that it is having on that child. You have nothing to share. There's nothing of importance that you have to say. See, so that gets into our subconscious, and then you grow up that way, and you grow up in this very, very hierarchical society where there is a there you are your opinion matters only if you are higher on a higher rung in the ladder than the person you're communicating with. So you will not dare to argue with your manager, or you will not dare to argue with your teacher, or you will not, but you will be very, very strong, a strong communicator with someone who's subordinate to you, or someone who you perceive as being subordinate to you. So
Mhm.
it becomes such a cultural thing, and it becomes so ingrained in us that I don't think we think of ourselves as being underconfident or not knowledgeable enough. I think it's more of a, I can't say this because this is not the place to say it. And
Mhm.
so I think that's where Seema and I are very, very
Yeah.
passionate about giving the children that confidence in that, in your opinion matters. Have an opinion, articulate it, be wrong, fail, fall, stand back up. It's okay. And that's, I think that is our mission
Mhm.
in life, because somehow I see that however many things change, these small cultural things are taking longer to change.
No, and I completely agree. And you, if you think about it, I mean, all these kids are going to become global citizens. I mean, you're going to be on a global
Yes,
platform in the future. That's the way the world is going to move ahead. And are you prepared for that? Are you prepared for that kind of cultural differences? Are you going to be able to articulate yourself
yeah,
across different countries? Will you be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with, people who have come from a very different approach to what confidence and communication skills is? So I think that's what we wanted to prepare the kids for. And one very important point that Deepma pointed out is pushing them out of the comfort zone. It's okay to take a risk. It's okay to
mhm,
fail. We cannot. And I think, to quote Rita Pearson, who's a teacher we admire greatly, is that every child needs a champion. And I think that is the vision, and that is the mission of the Confident Communicator. That is why we started this company.
What were
Over to you.
some difficulties you faced on the way? Like, were there any compromises you had to make on on like the vision that you had while setting it up? Were there things that you had to sacrifice, or were there things that you just ended up expanding into? I know you started two more programs that you didn't anticipate, but outside of that, was there any other surprise effects of the organization that you started?
Can I take that, Deepma?
sure, sure.
uh, the biggest one is mindset, which is, if you look at the way our country's education system is, there's a lot of emphasis on STEM education, right? There's a lot of emphasis on that. Arts and creative arts is something that is recently, it is now coming into and getting integrated into the education system, but we still are a very STEM based country. So what happens is, when we talk to parents and tell them about our program, the first thing is, so what are they going to learn? There's a whole, you need to have that kind of a mindset to understand that these soft skills are extremely important. And with both parents working now and the way the family structure is, it's very difficult to teach those things to the children at right now. So what happens is, when we speak to a lot of the parents, we have a lot of difficulty convincing them that these kind of art forms are extremely important. It is important. Oh, so yeah, but my child is very expressive, they are very confident, they speak very well, what is wrong with the way they speak? Or they're very shy, can you change their personality? I mean, these are really, really, you can't change a personality of a child, you know who in the first 7 years didn't get all those exposures that is required for the brain to kind of uh, you know
Develop.
uh,
Yeah,
develop. So I think what challenges we faced was first to change that mindset. And I think
mindset.
as the time has gone by, we are starting to meet a lot of these parents who completely buy in and understand why it is important to learn about confidence building, learn about communication skills, learn about reading, learn about pushing themselves outside the comfort zone. And I think, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but the lockdown is a great example of how much we've had to adapt to these changing environments. And I think that people like us, the programs that we offer, really prepares these kids
Yes,
for something like that. So the biggest challenge I think that we faced was the mindset change, to be able to accept something like this is important and it's critical. We went to a bunch of schools. I remember one principal talking to us and saying, I love your program, it's fantastic, but our schedule is so tight, I don't know where we'll fit you in, because it's
yeah,
really not that mainstream. So I think, but I have to say that we've been very grateful and very lucky that people's mindset have started to change, and people are recognizing that this is a very important skill set to imbibe.
Mhm.
as we go more and more global, I think, right? And as people travel more and see others' mindsets and learn from different countries and different cultures and different, we are noticing that change very slowly and steadily happening. We have been blessed to be in Bangalore, which is like the center of IT globalization in India. And we have seen a lot of people who are very well traveled and therefore buy into the concept of soft skills uh, very readily. But as we expand and as we cross borders and go all over India, we're noticing that still that little bit of a mindset change or shift needs to happen with where's that hard skill, where's that hard takeaway, where's that certificate that says he can now program in such and such language. You know what I mean? And that is something that is still stuck, and we're going to have to just keep on working until we are able to get unstuck in that. But we're doing it, and we're making changes, and we're seeing shifts in the mindsets around us. So that was a great question. Thanks for asking it, Deeksha.
Well, as Sima said, you've had to suddenly adjust to the pandemic, to the trauma that comes with the pandemic, and to also keeping, you know, current with your company, with shifting it online and making it accessible to people. How did you go about that? What were some feelings that you were experiencing? What were things that you were thinking? What was going on in your heads while you were adjusting or acclimatizing?
I think just to kind of give you a sense of how uh, all this unfolded for us is uh, I think in January or so, we were still dismissing this as the flu, right? And we didn't even think of it as a pandemic or anything global. And we were just like, everyone's just making too big of a deal of it, never realizing that our entire lives, not just our business, but our entire lives were just going to catapult uh, and do a 360 essentially. Um, by February is when we graduated. Very luckily, we graduated our leadership communication class, and they were done with their class. We did their graduation and everything. And then all of a sudden, it was March that we went into lockdown. So one of the blessings was that we got to graduate our annual leadership communication class, and they actually got to go through the entire process of not just the learning but also the last session and the graduation. Um, the first instinct for us was this is something that will blow over. We probably get about a month off to kind of take a little bit of a break, and then we'll go back to classroom training. uh, and then suddenly started realizing that that's probably not going to happen, and that fear started setting in. What are we going to do if we're not able to do classroom training? What's going to happen to our company? Are we going to have to fold? And then we started hearing of businesses folding. We started hearing of businesses not being able to manage in this uh, traumatic, like you called it, traumatic time. And we started asking ourselves the really hard questions, especially since both of us are soft skills trainers and that's our passion. We haven't been technologically very, very up on it. And so we were wondering, how could we go online? How could we even sustain an online business? And how could we even uh, could we adapt, for one, and then how do we do it? And so I think the entire month of March, or maybe half of the month of March, went in that fear consciousness of, we're probably not going to be able to do it, and now this is it, right? Everyone's going to
I
forget
think
about the confident communicator. And then I think Sima came up with an idea, and in 3 days, I want her to talk about it. In 3 days, we just went with that idea, and the rest, as they say, is history. So I want Seema to
what
talk
I
about
what I
that.
wanted to add to that is, we've trained over 1,200 students, and the relationship that we have with our students is like, it's not like you come to our class and the class is over and we all say goodbye. We are still in their lives. They connect to us for anything that is outside of the class, something that they're doing, like a world scholarship cup that many of them participated in. Auntie, can you help us with that? or I'm representing my school in the MUN. Auntie, can you help us with that? So,
Essay
there's
competitions, yes.
such a deep, yeah, essay competition, exactly. So such a deep connection we have with our kids. And when I was talking to Deepma about this online program, I said, I'm really worried about what is the mental state of these kids. Are they kind of ready for this? I mean, this doesn't look like it is going to go away soon.
Yeah.
And yes, we'll have to deal with how will we change the business aspect of it, how will we deal with the financial aspect of it, how will we sustain the business. Those are secondary questions, but the primary question was, will our children be able to deal with something like this? Will they be able to deal with the whole online training? Will they be able to deal with the mental trauma that they will face, not being able to meet their friends, not being able to go down? I mean, this is not what we want to give our kids. We want them to be happy. We want them to be able to find strategies to deal with this, because this is going to be a long term thing. Therefore, we created a program called LARC, which is the Learning, Adaptability, and Resilience in Kids. And the foundation of the program was, and we only initially offered it to our own students, saying that we want to talk to you. If you are having any kind of frustration, if there's any mental anguish, if there's any trauma you're feeling, if there's some confusion that you're feeling, let's talk about it. So we spent a lot of time talking to over 100 students in the first, I think, 4 or 5 weeks,
5 weeks, yeah.
where we reached out to our kids and said, listen, we are here for you. We are here to discuss these things. And and fortunately for us, I mean, so many of them are our students and they connected with us immediately. And we had such a beautiful exchange of ideas and what they thought of the lockdown, and how responsible are we, or what behavior changes will we make once this lockdown is over. Are we going to continue with the same behavior? Because that's a social responsibility that we as educators must take. They cannot be going back to the same style of living, the same mistakes that we are making, where we are exposing our children to a very dangerous environment. And I think that conversation had to be had, and that's how the program LARC came about, and we went online. So that was really the journey and the conversation that led to this program. And I think, when your intention is and your why is very clear, I think everything finds the path kind
Everything
of
falls
opens
into
up.
place.
Everything
Yes.
falls into place, and we figured out everything. We were very quick about it, and the kids got on board. And today we have taught about almost 150 students. So I think that's how the whole adaptation to online training went, thanks to the lockdown. So it was quite a bit of changing of gears to go into
Yeah.
something completely different. But
Yeah.
that's exactly what we teach our kids: push your comforts, get out of a comfort zone, push your limits, try. Even if you fail, there's nothing wrong in keeping on going on. So that is an example we had to set as
Yeah.
teachers.
I think that's what happened to us, is because we tell the kids, right, that even if you fail, you must not be afraid of
So
trying.
this
And
was a great opportunity for us. Yeah.
this is take that opportunity. And this was a chance that we had to live by our own teaching. And so we had to go ahead and
Yeah.
take that leap of faith, learn Zoom, the Zoom calls and the online space. We had to learn, and we learned from our students, because there was one class in which a student was annotating all over my PowerPoint presentation, and he was drawing smiley faces and things like that. And instead of saying stop doing that, which was my first instinct, obviously, I said, how do you do that? Because if I want to do that, how do I don't even. And he said, auntie, all you have to do is annotate. And I'm like, oh my god, the words annotate. So now I know the word that I have to search for in order to learn to do it. And we learned to do. And so it was one step at a time. We just learned one step at a time, and they were with us throughout, because we showed them our vulnerability, and we showed them the fact that we don't know, but we want to help you, and you help us too. And one of our biggest things, Sima talked about Rita Pearson, another very big, I want to say mentor of ours, though I'm sure he doesn't know it, is Simon Sinek, where he says, start with your why. Your why has to be in the center, and then your what and your how will follow the golden circle. And so I think we did that without even really putting words to it. We did it, we managed it, and we have survived.
How have
Mhm.
people been receptive to online classes? Has there been a lull in response, or have people been trying to adjust to focusing on online classes? Because I know it
I
was
mean,
difficult for me when university
yeah.
started doing online classes for us.
Yeah, it's always, see, it's anything that is new, anything that new is new, and you're trying something different and new is always challenging, right? You always kind of resist that kind of a change. And I think for parents, the concern was, the on the screen time, how much time a child is sitting in front of a screen, instead of being outside and playing outside. They're constantly in front. Already we were dealing with social media and the cell phones for teenagers, and now they're completely online, and god knows what is happening, and they're constantly sitting in front of the computer. And that was a huge concern. So I think that there was a lot of concern from the parents perspective.
Yes, yes.
From our perspective, we were concerned about the age group, and whether this is something, should we do more classes that goes beyond academics, and make it, make them sit for yet another hour at the computer. So those were the questions we asked, and then, but fortunately for us, that helped us design and develop the curriculum in a way that it turned out to be more of a stress buster for the kids, and there was learning also happening at the same time.
Mhm.
So they were looking forward to the class. Every single parent messaged us saying, they are so tired at the end of the school day, but when they come into your class they get energized. And I think that's the foundation of our learning, where fun is always in the center. Everybody needs to have fun. So I think that it was challenging to shift gears and get into online training, because we were concerned about how it would affect you know the the screen time that the children were
Mhm.
spending.
Okay. Um, I'm going to have one final question for you because time's almost out. And that's, what message do you want to give your viewers? What do you want them to take away from this? Where do you see the company going?
Deepma, you want
Ooh.
it's a deep question.
That's a deep question. I think one of the things that brings our products into view, and I'll just talk very briefly about the two products that we have. One of them is an almanac for women called My Life, My Way. And it is a beautiful, beautiful planner, but it is so much more. And I think that's the message also that we want to give. All There we go. We want to give all of our clients, customers, viewers, listeners, is that live your life your way. Go ahead and maintain a gratitude journal. Go ahead and set your goals for yourself. Go deep within yourself, set your goals, and then go after those goals with a gusto. Maintain, be grateful for what you have already, and live from that place of gratitude as if you have already received whatever it is that you want. So that has been our biggest, I think, our biggest takeaway from our journeys and our life, is that let's live our life our way, with our own goals, with our own, and be kind and loving and giving to everyone around us, uh, and yet be able to fulfill our own purpose in life as well. The second product we have is called the conversation cards, and they are a set of 100 cards that can be used by families and by teams to kind of reconnect. They just have these little, very quirky little questions on them, and you just pull out one of the cards. You can either use it as a game, or you can use it as a conversation start around the dining table, and you pull out a question, read the question, and everyone goes around the table answering those questions. And once again, that goes back to our uh, deep vision of empowering people to build connections, to build relationships, and have those stronger human connections, which is where sometimes going online scares us, because it's that personal connect, it's that face-to-face connect that is so important to us. So I'm hoping that the pandemic ends soon and we are able to go back to meeting people face to face, to shaking hands without being afraid, to hugging without being afraid, because those are all such important ways of building connection.
Yeah, and I think we are going into some really challenging times ahead. Along with the pandemic, I think even the way, there are so many issues that people are facing. Whether it's kids in school, they are dealing with bullying, or whether it is body shaming, or whether it is issues
Yes.
with gender, whether it is whatever it is that you're facing, even women getting out of, trying to lean in, being more active in the boardroom, moms getting out of the role of being a mom and trying to build a career for herself, or even dads, I mean, getting into the whole integrating with the family goals. I think the challenges are for everybody, and everybody requires or needs a champion or someone who can empower them. And I think that empowerment is the main vision for our company. And every program that we will run will go around the concept of empowerment. And I think that's the future, or that's what we are looking at for the Confident Communicator.
Okay, this was lovely. I'm so glad that I got to speak to both of you about this. And I was also telling the viewers earlier about the podcast and what we're aiming to do. So it's going to be exciting to see where that goes under the guise of the Confident Communicator and how people receive it and what messages we can spread through it. So
Yeah,
I'm really
Deeksha, we are
looking.
very excited. We are very excited that you are taking the lead on this. I think you are the perfect person for this. We love the ideas that you've been sharing with us, and we are very happy to support the views and the opinions that you are going to try and bring out in the audience. And you have our complete support and our absolute gratitude for actually taking this up for the Confident Communicator. Thanks so much for this opportunity.
Thank you both
Well,
for talking to
well
me.
said. Well said, Seema. So I just want to say thank you, Deeksha. Thank you so
Oh.
much.
I'm gonna blush on screen now. All right, so I guess that's it for our first episode.
You be safe. Yeah, be safe
Yeah.
and take
All
care.
right. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
And there we have it. That's the end of our first podcast. And I honestly enjoyed that so much. Sima and Deepma were such wonderful people to speak to and so inspiring to me just because of how they decided to get out there and do it. I'm excited to see what we come up with next and who we talk to. So stay tuned, and we're going to bring on so many more interesting people on here. And I'll see you next week.